Hey y'all, Cherie here. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. I really appreciate your support. Now, if y'all thought that these couples were about to come back from Mexico and settle down, child, listen, we got one wife questioning a man who's seemingly doing everything right. We got somebody regretting sleeping with their spouse. Do y'all think that Adam and Marissa is ever going to stop scratching the surface and each other and go deeper? I gotta say that he doesn't seem like the judgmental jerk that I thought that he was at first. Will Tori take flight now that her and Felipe have laid down together? Or vibed, as Adam would call it. And are Mecca and Courtney gonna stop actively sabotaging their marriages? Cam and Michelle seem like they about to be everybody's favorite couple. They seem like they about to be the only ones who saying yes on decision day. So we'll see, child. And we already know we don't even have to ask the question, is Nikki and Sean gonna argue this episode, because we already know the answer to that. Okay, so it looks like this episode we're going to get to a messy dinner party with everybody walking away with both clarity and concern of not only their marriages but also where their peers stand in their own marriages. So come on, let's recap season 20, episode 7 of Married at First Sight. As if they knew that they were going to push Adam down our throats this season, they start with Adam and Marissa. And they're spending a playful evening at home, making grilled cheese for dinner. Why they have that lone piece of steak out is beyond me, child. Now, in her confessional, Marissa is acknowledging that the two haven't really gotten deep yet. She admits that she's fascinated by Adam, and she really just wants to see where the journey takes them. Full send, as they would say. They made up a word, child. I guess it seemed like it's like bro slang for we gonna go all the way. We gonna try our best. So if you ask me, Adam is just cruising through Married at First Sight like this is just something on his bucket list, child. He's just having the time of his life. Next, we see everyone is all settled into their new living quarters. The couples are getting excited on this particular day because this is the day that they have their group dinner. They go meet as a group. So we see the couples getting ready for the couples dinner, and they all have one thing in common. They can't wait. They want some tea spilled. Listen, just like us. Now, before we get into the group dinner, and we know the experts are going to be ear hustling in the back, we see some of the couples having conversations while they're getting ready. So they pretty much showing everybody getting closer. Devin and Caitlin definitely seem closer, and that they seem like they're becoming more affectionate. They show Kim and Michelle very comfortable, very flirty. Felipe and Tori still seem the same on the surface, but we're going to see, because Tori is in her confessional talking about, cutting sex off, after the first time. So we already know how Felipe get down. So we're going to see. We see Mecca giving Belle Jolie a little spin as they compliment each other before they go out to the group dinner. And we see Mecca in his confessional acknowledging the fact that Belle Jolie has pulled back some ever since he did that little like you're attracted to me more than I'm attracted to you percentage bull conversation that he brought up with her. And he asked Belle Jolie if she thinks there's going to be any friction or anything with the group. And she's like, it's going to be friction, because, see, these two done went out on a double date the night before with Sean and Nikki. And, of course, Sean and Nikki got into an argument in front of these two. But I think the most concerning conversation before dinner happened was with Courtney and Nick. So I think in this scene is where Nick loses a little bit of respect for Courtney. They're talking about, their past relationships, and she's getting into telling him that she's not had the best experience with sex and relationships. And, it's just been embarrassing in the past. And he just wants to be able to hold her hand when they walk down the street. Like, he's not asking her to jump in the bed. Like, he understands. Like, he's on the same page as her. So she gets in and start explaining, about, her long-term relationships, but none of them have been meaningful. She talks about how her very first relationship, the only reason that she, had sex with the guy was because she didn't want to lose him. And another guy, she knew that she was cheating on him, but she just, stayed with him and allowed him to continue to cheat on her. And like the look on Nick's face just really, really says it all. And he kind of looks at her and he asks her, like, are you ready for a romantic relationship? If, is this what you want? She's like, yeah, when they came on Married at First Sight. And then in her confessional, it's just her blah, 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 bullshitting us and talking about barriers and being broken down. Girl, you don't like this man and you never will. Like leave us alone. Like, at this point. So we get to the group dinner. The experts is like, turn my headphones up. Like, the experts is getting in position, getting ready to listen to everything they say, look at body language, everything. So the couples are walking in, the experts are commenting on their body language, and they're happy that a lot of the couples look closer than they did before. Adam walks in with this mostly hot pink short set and this hat, and the experts clock that he's just trying to get a rise out of the group. Then it cuts to him telling them what bird feathers is in the damn hat. He's like, this got ring-necked pheasant and guinea fowl and rooster. Like, Adam. So he goes into, I bird watch a little bit when I'm on a jet ski. And the experts pretty much agree that Adam is somebody that postures with his antics and with things that he has, to kind of get the attention of everybody in the room. They clock that Nick and Courtney walk in holding hands and quickly drop as soon as they walk in. And they also clocked that Nikki showed up alone. Chachi gave some excuse that Dr. Sean had a work thing and he would come a little later. But that was translated to, we had a fight and we showing up separately. He could have really had a work thing, but the way these two fight, you just never know. So the couples and Nikki naturally fall into the gals on one side, the guys on the other side, and they, dishing about what all everybody's been up to. So Nikki does acknowledge to the ladies that her and Dr. Sean went on a double date, the night before with Belle Jolie and Mecca. And they got into a spat on a double date. You see Felipe telling Nick that he took the whole weekend off to be with Tori. He's telling Nick stuff like, oh yeah, we're all over each other. I mean, like, we're like 99% good. And Nick is like, well, what's the 1%? And Felipe's like, oh, I mean, she's guarded. So that's translation for she stopped giving me some. So Nick does agree, saying, he's in a similar boat or whatever with Courtney. Courtney's guard is up, but it's like a bit more intense. So they're just working through, and he's just hoping that they're going in the right direction. So finally, Sean does pop up. In the way that they edit it, it makes it look like Sean like walked around giving daps, saying hugs to giving hugs to everybody else, but didn't say anything, didn't greet Nikki. So, these two are always in conflict. It does seem like production has decided to ride this story out, the fact that these two is always fighting. But listen, they have helped. So they have definitely made it easy. You see Marissa saying her and Adam are still in playful mode, and Sean and Nick talk. And Sean explains that he tries to get his perspective across, but Nikki always takes it as him being anti her perspective, and that's where their breakdown comes. So finally, Felipe rings the bell like, come on, everybody, it's time for dinner. Everybody's, gets to their seat. For some reason, they asked Tori to lead them in prayer, child, before they start eating. And she ain't got that demon from out of her yet, because she talking about may up above bless our marriages. She ain't say nothing about the Lord. She ain't thank God. She ain't bless the food, the hands that made it. Nothing. No amen. Nothing, child. Now, first things first, after that, Felipe shoots across the table to Adam. How y'all doing? So in true Adam fashion, we vibing, so that's their word. So everybody's, laughing or whatever. At this point, Adam's a caricature of himself. He does admit, though, that he feels super comfortable with Marissa. He feels like he could be himself and that he's only felt like that on less than a handful of occasions. And Marissa's like, yeah, we're so funny. When we're out, we're just riffing off each other and we just love it. And then they kiss and everybody's like, oh. But Courtney comes in and asks, like, okay, so y'all laugh, you like his funny clothes and, all his antics, but what besides that, like, what is it like behind closed doors? You know what I'm saying? Or y'all having a serious conversations? What's up? So Marissa's like, no, we haven't talked about it. We prefer being silly and fun and cute. And Adam talking about, yeah, life is short. If you're not vibing, then what are you doing? So Nick does admit, like, y'all have a fun dynamic. Listen, it's what anybody can hope for. But he presses him, like, but how are y'all going to be on decision day? Just vibing through it, what's the plan? So Marissa's like, yeah, we're just vibing through it. And everybody just bust out laughing. Like, it's just the funniest thing ever, child. That these two heads is just in the clouds. They just having sex, eating grilled cheese. But at this point, it goes to Courtney and Nick in the confessional on the street. And Courtney drops a bomb, like, because Nick is, like, in the confessional saying, they keep talking about we're having fun, this and that, but what about the real? And Courtney goes, well, you don't need, the real don't matter when you the hottest guy in the group. And Nick looking at her like, did you really just, we standing next, like, I'm your husband, hello? So she's like, oh, did I mess up? Like, it was just like a weird and disrespectful moment. Like, she does not respect this man. So back at the group dinner, coming off of the Marissa and Adam vibe situation, Nick does admit that him and Courtney could use some of that energy. So Courtney starts talking, of course, she's all over the place, talking about how she feels bad for Nick. And she's just pretty much feeding him a bunch of damn baloney, child. She's not a lover, and it doesn't make sense, she starts this cry voice, and like I said, she's not making sense. She's bouncing back to explaining why she's being such a bitch to Nick, and everybody's just looking at her in confusion like, girl, what are you talking about? So everyone can see that she don't like him. She's self-sabotaging. She can't get out of her own way. So at this point, this is what we saw in the previews. Felipe asked Nick, like, what does it feel like to be rejected by your own wife? So Adam laughing, and I feel totally embarrassed for Nick because Courtney laughing, pointing at Adam, talking about don't laugh, but it's like, girl, you laughing too. Like, she does not respect this man. So Nick is like, I don't feel rejected. Courtney described it as a slow burn, and I'm pretty much respecting that. He starts talking about how beautiful he thinks she is and how she's impacted his life, and the fact that he does, still see a lot of potential for them. So Courtney is quadrupling down on, yeah, I'm a slow burn, talking about she think Nick genuinely likes her, and that freaks her out. Like, Courtney, what freaks you out? So here comes Sean. Can I offer this? Like, Courtney, you're a competing athlete, and when athletes are getting ready to compete, they may not want to do their training every day, but they get up and do it anyway. Basically telling Courtney, fake it till she make it. And Courtney like, dog, no, I'm not about to fake it till I make it. Like, I feel close to him. He respects me. We're cool. So Nick doubles down on that. We're moving in the right direction. Now, if we're here 7 months from now, then I'ma have questions. But right now we're good. Whatever. So Felipe starts closing that conversation out, and he starts complimenting Nick on being comfortable with himself. And here comes Courtney with the disrespect. Talking about, well, respectfully, no, I don't think he's confident and this and that. Child, and then she goes on and like, none of y'all guys are confident, Miss, yeah, my boyfriend cheated on me and I let him. Miss, the only reason I had sex with my first boyfriend was because I wanted to keep them, telling them they not confident. Like, what? But she does have a point with some of them. But Courtney, respectfully, like, Nick is giving you respect, something that you're not used to. You're not trying to connect at all with this man. Stop. Like, and you're trying to find any reason why y'all should not be together. So Marissa corrects her, and she's saying, like, there's a difference between being confident and being vulnerable. So everybody starts agreeing, and the conversation tides change a little bit with everybody agreeing with Marissa. So Mecca starts doting on Belle Jolie, and as they're hyping him up, he starts going a little bit crazy. And both Michelle and the experts at this point clock it, and they're watching it, and they're like, Mecca is being performative. And I will admit, you do see some of his dad coming out of him. Just over the top for no damn reason, because the attention is on him in that moment. So he does pipe down, and he continues on, doting on Belle Jolie, telling everybody that, she's unlocked a side of him that he thought he'd never see. She listens to him. She's so non-judgmental, and it arouses him. And everybody's like, whoa, hold up. This man got a mental boner right now. So Belle Jolie clears it up. Like, wait a minute, though. Like, listen, like, not in any shape or form have we done anything. Nothing has happened yet. And then, she starts telling everybody about the attraction percentage question that he asked at the end of their honeymoon. So she says the answer wasn't great for her because pretty much he told her, like, I think you more attracted to me than I am to you. So Mecca's sitting there looking ashamed, like he know he was wrong. It still baffles me that he thought that this was a good question, and that he thought that this question wasn't going to create conflict, put doubt in her mind, make her even change her decision day answer. He pushed her away. And this kind of makes me think that Mecca is actively sabotaging the marriage. Belle admits that he still has been sweet, and he's still being affirming and that she's just focusing on the here and now. So we'll see where it goes, child. Now on the side, you see Nikki whispering to Sean, like, look, I don't want to say anything because I'm not trying to embarrass you. She's trying to figure out how to speak to the group about them without embarrassing him. She telling them, whispering to him. So he looked at her with the dead eyes. So Courtney changes gears and admits that Michelle is super picky, so she was a little worried, but she's really, really happy that she sees Michelle and Cameron so happy. And Michelle is like, girl, you know me so well. So Cam admits, like, yeah, since we got married, we just hit it off, and it's just been off to the races for us. So then you see Devin talking about him and Caitlin's relationship, and he just felt like he was just ready to dive in, and then he dove into a frozen lake, and he's like pretty much describing Caitlyn as that frozen lake. So he's saying, like, yeah, like normally I'm used to instant gratification. Like he's used to, I guess, girls throwing them at him, throwing themselves at him. And Caitlyn reminds him that, well, he's like, and when I don't get that instant gratification, I'm a runner, I'm a track star. And Caitlyn reminds him that, he's attracted, it's attractive to see a man be all about himself and doing his thing, outside of the relationship. So they have a cute moment, and everybody's like, oh, whatever. And she's looking at him, like, oh, you so cute, the way you sitting there. And he's like, you're so amazing. And in her confessional, she does admit that since they talked to the experts, he's been doing his work, and she does feel more comfortable. So the experts are happy to see that, because they wouldn't have believed that they would be in this place a week ago when they met. So Felipe does round the conversation. It's like Felipe is the moderator of the conversation at dinner. So Felipe rounds out the conversation about Caitlyn and Devin, saying to Devin, you know, that's what's up, bro. You know, I see your effort. I see Caitlyn's effort, you know, and everybody, you know, pretty much cheers to them, you know, on being on a good path. Now it's Felipe's turn. And he starts talking about the fact that he's a doubter and he didn't see that he'd be matched with a woman as amazing as Tori. And he's like, you know, I'm normally somebody who overthinks, you know, I run away from things, you know, I'm one who takes the easy road. But he assured Tori in front of everybody, you know, hey, I'm committed, you know, I'm committed to winning you over. As always, he's always talking about winning her over. And she's like, oh, that's sweet. You know, I'm equally grateful and yada, yada, yada. But she put everything on the table to the group. She's like, look, we got intimate. I wasn't feeling it. You know, I regretted it. I went and slept on the couch. When he got up the next day, I was like, look, I'm not feeling this. I want to stop the sex right now before we even start. So, you know, and Felipe's like, look, that's something that I never experienced before. She knows I'm trying my best, though. And she tells him that, you know, look, you did everything amazingly. I felt safe with you. And the experts say that they think that Felipe is showing depth. And I'm just feeling like, yeah, just wait. You know, it ain't over yet. So finally, Felipe does admit that he fears them losing passion. Even if they look good next to each other on paper, like he just fears that eventually the passion may be gone and he doesn't know what he's going to do as a result of that. You know, where are we going to go from there? So the experts are in the back talking about future conversation with Felipe about his expectation when it comes to passion in a marriage. And right on cue, Michelle and Marissa say it's impossible for passion to be on the high forever in a marriage. You know, being married, you go through the ebbs and flows of passion in a relationship. So they finally get to Nikki and Sean, child. So Nikki starts things off. Yeah, you know, listening to you guys, I've learned so much about each and every one of you. You know, and I see so much of our relationship in your stories. But we've been on a journey. And she goes on to talk about the fact that it's been challenging, you know, it's been a challenging last couple of days. And she specifically looks at Beljolie and Mecca like, you know, y'all was with us last night, so y'all kind of seen us in action a little bit. So Sean starts explaining that, you know, pretty much what happened. He was like, you know, I was saying how, you know, I want to be a provider. I want to provide the soft life for my wife. I want to alleviate any anxiety that she has. And he said the word anxiety, and Nikki's response was, you calling me anxious? He said Nikki just snapped. It just popped off from there. You know, y'all know it don't take much for these two. So he said, so Nikki just honed in on him calling her anxious for the rest of the night. And that was the narrative, and she just spiraled from there. So Mecca does hop in, and Mecca's like, hey, you know, we was there with you on that double date last night, and the overarching theme was accountability. So he says, you know, Nikki, not to take Sean's side, but are you sincerely and accurately taking accountability for the part in you guys' you know, debate or the things going on in your relationship? Because all I hear is you attacking Sean a lot, and it doesn't seem like you give him a lot of grace. Excuse me. So Nikki's like, yeah, you know, I give him grace, you know, but we keep having these same conflicts with no resolution. And the bottom line is we're unable to communicate effectively. You know, she says he labels her a lot, whether it be crazy or whatever. So as soon as she said, you know, he labels me a lot, he called me crazy, this and that, everybody like, oh, what? You know, he called you crazy. So, you know, it's a sin to call a woman crazy. So they reacted louder to that than they did to Mecca telling Beljolie, I think you more attracted to me than I am to you. But that's neither here nor there. You know, at this very moment, Sean closes his eyes and accepts defeat, child. He insists that he was quoting something that she says. So he feels somewhere along the line that she called herself crazy, and he was just repeating what she said about herself. So he's willing to die on this one because he's been saying from the door it's something she said about herself, and he was just repeating what she said. So Devin starts asking Nikki and Sean the hard questions, like, are you two not willing to, find common ground because of your egos? He's like, it's too much ego there, maybe. So Devin starts saying his piece. Devin was telling them the truth. I ain't going front. And you see Sean actively check out. He looking at his phone. He don't give a damn what Devin talking about. Nikki starts adding to what Devin is saying, yeah, we do have a lot of ego, but it's the disrespect from Sean. It's the raised voice. It's the aggressive posturing. It's the, she's piling it on Sean. And everybody just looking, because he checked out and he's sitting there looking disinterested. But Devin holds Nikki to the fire. He's asking her, okay, well, what do you do when he gets like that? And she said, well, I fight fire with fire. And Devin says, well, that seems to be one of the main problems. And the experts are in the back like, yeah, Devin, they all proud of Devin because Devin is really being the voice of reason here. So Nikki starts telling them about the airport incident and how they both initially decided to go their separate ways for a moment because the conversation had gotten heated between them. But here, to me, is where a huge misunderstanding happened, and this is where she lost everybody because it seemed that everybody was kind of on her side, like ego, and then this cat showing disinterest in the whole conversation. They was with her, but she starts going, well, he starts saying, he's making a big deal of me towering over him, and here's where I think she says one statement and everybody's like, oh nah, it's you too. She said, cause she says like me at 5'5", towering over him, but she's saying that like I'm a small lady. How could I be towering over this man? But everyone at the table was like, hey, that's a hype dig. That's a low blow. That ain't right. This and that. And she couldn't effectively express that I was not making a dig. I was just saying, like, imagine me standing over him at 5'5". Like, imagine me, he's saying like, oh, you towering over me, but it happened. The misunderstanding happened. They never got through it. And one of the most frustrating things for me is when you're trying to get your point across and you're misunderstood in the worst way, and there's nothing you could do or say to make it right. But I saw you in this moment, Nikki. You ain't perfect, but I did see you in this moment, child. Now, in this moment, Sean was totally quiet. He's starting to seem to come back to the reality of the conversation because he was halfway listening, so he kind of heard everybody taking his side about, oh, don't make a dig about him and his, because he is a short king. So Adam, this is where we see Adam in the previews asking, just point blank, well, listen, have y'all thought of just calling it? And Nikki starts answering, and they stick at her, so they cut her off, like, let Sean answer. So Sean is like, absolutely not. It's not in my DNA to quit. I'm a committed man. I want to stay in this marriage. And Mecca is like, I still feel that there is hope, and look, it's a reason that all of us are sitting at this table now. The experts did what they did, and that's why we all got married at first sight. So they all toasted that. They end the dinner on that note, and the experts pretty much discussed the fact that them watching the dinner gave them a sense of more of a sense of what needs to be done. You know, they have some strong couples, they have some couples who are not that strong, but you know, it was a good dinner overall. So they show Nick and Courtney's ride back to their condo, and he's asking her like, yo, what was up with that, you know, whole confidence conversation? Like, what you mean I don't have confidence? Nobody's ever told me that. Like, I never felt like I wasn't a confident man. And, you know, she's trying to clean it up, telling him that he's good looking. Remember, because she said that Adam was the hottest guy there. So she's trying to clean that up. And, you know, then she starts going on this tangent about, you know, how much she's been rejected. And, you know, he's never been rejected. So he tells her, you know, yes, I have. I can't, you know, get every girl that I want. And it looked like after that she tunes him out for the rest of the car ride. She just tunes him out. So you see Nikki and Sean meet on the corner after dinner, child. It must have got chilly because she had on his suit jacket. So she telling him, you know, look, it was a shitty night, and I'm not confident that, you know, you and I can make it through this. You know, she says tonight he presented her in the worst way, and he doubled down on the constant disrespect. She told him he pretty much mischaracterized her in front of their peers. So she pissed. She is chewing him out. I feel like, no, Nikki, you showed them who you were. You know, they got to see a little bit of, hey, you know, you're the problem too. Sean, at this point, I see his cycle or game, whatever you want to call it. They fight. He says something articulate and poetic to the tune of he's sorry, he's a piece of shit, and they can work it out. So that's pretty much what he starts doing. He's telling her he's been insensitive to her feelings. He's not been taking time to really dig in and blah, blah, blah. And she screams on him in that moment. She tells him that's a horrible apology, and that he presented her in a bad light. Pretty much, she's like, you shit on me. And Sean is like, look, I don't want to fight with you. You know, Nikki's like, what? You don't want to fight with me? Fighting is our flavor of marriage. So she says she can't talk to him about conflict. And Sean, as if taking an oath, is like, I promise you right now that I will not be fighting with you anymore. Like, so he's like, can you please just trust what I say? And she's like, trust you? I know you ain't just say trust you. We done been through this a dozen times. He's like, but you know, just please, just give me a little trust. And you know, he's like, I won't be fighting with you. I will not be fighting with you. I promise. So then he goes into, because she's like, she's not having it, like, you know, no, you know. So then he goes into this condescending tone, like, well, you know, I'm the problem, right? It's me, I'm the problem. Yet I'm amazed that if I'm the problem, that you haven't figured out my problem and how to solve it. So Nikki's like, I'm not your doctor. I'm not supposed to be the one, you know, to fix you, you know. And I'm not saying that I don't have my problems too. You know what I'm saying? She's pretty much telling him, you know, take ownership for what's been lacking. You know, she doesn't know that she has the capacity, you know, to show up for him the way he needs her to show up for him. You know what I'm saying? If that's what he's saying, you know, well, I'm the problem, so fix me. So in that moment, Sean is like, well, you know, you should leave then. Why don't you quit? Like 0 to 10. So she kindly takes his jacket off, child, and hands it to him. And this episode pretty much ends with her packing her bag for the night. Like, I can't stay here with you. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't even want to look at you. So that's how it ends. A mess. All right, y'all. Now that everybody done sat around one table and got a good look at everybody else's marriage, folks are about to start questioning their own. We got some bruised egos. We got some hurt feelings. We got some attraction issues, some intimacy issues, and enough unsolicited opinions to last us for the rest of the season. Do y'all think that Sean and Nikki are ever going to get on the same page? I don't know, child. I definitely know that it's going to be a no on their wedding day from them. Like, they over it. I don't know if they pay them for the amount of days that they stay on, but I don't know. Do y'all think that Courtney is finally going to soften up? Or is Nick about to realize that he married somebody who's already halfway checked out? And baby, what in the world is really going on with Mecca? Because something still ain't adding up. And I know I can't be the only one that's seeing it. I know y'all see it too. Everybody definitely ready to talk to the experts again. But talking and actually changing are two separate things. I think that episode 7's group dinner was actually the appetizer. Episodes 8 and 9 are going to be the main course, and we are going to continue to see the couples being tested. Some of them are going to be going back to work. We're going to see them living their day-to-day, and there's also going to be a couples group therapy coming up. So that was definitely the appetizer, child. Excuse me, appetizer. I do want to say thank y'all for rocking out with me and being so patient with me. I know these videos ain't perfect. I know I'm saying a lot, whatever. I'm not quite on a video posting schedule. I'll try to get stuff in where I could fit it in. But I do have a full-time job. I am in school full-time. And look, I got an 8th grader that's about to go back to school. So I just appreciate y'all's support. And I appreciate y'all taking the time to look at your girl. All right. Until next time.